from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay.
And so all of the things that we teach in our jobs as extension agents, we wanted a way to help people to bring that information home and apply it to their lives.
Two women on a mission to educate and inform with a side order of sass. A new report sheds light on the salaries paid to executives at one dairy checkoff program. Now the organization is responding.
AgDay, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths on this Patriots Day. Commodity markets soaring on Tuesday as word spread on reports that China is expected to agree to buy more American ag product. The report coming from the South China Morning Post saying it's all in hopes of getting a better trade deal with the U.S. A source telling the Post the offer to buy U.S. ag would be in exchange for a delay in a series of U.S. tariffs and an easing of a ban against Chinese telecommunications company Huawei. The two sides are scheduled to hold face-to-face talks in Washington again next month. Traders say the renewed optimism sparked a reaction from the markets. More cases of African swine fever are continuing to show up in China. This time on a farm in the northwestern region of the country. Reuters reporting the farm had 226 pigs and 13 have already died from the disease. It's also reported the Philippines has culled 7,000 pigs due to an outbreak of ASF there. And pork is also getting more expensive in China. Data published by China's National Bureau of Statistics shows that prices are nearly 50% higher today than this time last year. Reuters reporting prices in the southeast China city of Nanning rose as much as $2.56 a pound. With the second most important holiday to the Chinese people happening this Friday, Chinese officials are now dipping into their pork bank. Despite the French president saying at last month's G7 summit there was an agreement to avoid French wine tariffs with the U.S., Bloomberg reporting they are still on the table. It says the Trump administration is moving ahead with an investigation into a new French digital tax that could lead to tariffs on the country's wine. The probe could clear the way for targeting billions in French exports to the U.S., including several French farm and food products. The move comes after Bloomberg described a contentious visit in Washington between the French finance minister and Trump administration officials. Controversy surrounds the dairy checkoff program after a report from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel examined the salaries paid to leadership at Dairy Management Incorporated. The Milwaukee Journal reporting IRS records showed 10 executives at the organization in 2017 were paid more than $8 million combined at a time when 1,600 dairies went out of business. It equates to more than $800,000 apiece. Now, it found the annual pay for the nonprofit CEO, Thomas Gallagher, was $1 million in 3 separate years between 2013 and 2017. The group's executive vice president, former U.S. Ag Secretary Tom Vilsack, was paid $800,000 in 2017. Now, the nonprofit, based in Illinois, says on its website that it is a dairy research and promotion program for farmers and dairy importers across the nation. Dairy Management CEO said the following during an interview with Farm Journal's Milk, quote, "It's very hard for farmers who are in these economic times to look at salaries and not question it. They certainly have a right to question it, but they have to rely on the other farmers that are elected to these boards to look at the data and say, look, we're competing and working with the largest food companies in the world. If you want to do that, you have to have the people with the talent and decades of experience to do that," unquote. Now, farmers taking part in the dairy checkoff program are required to pay 15 cents per hundredweight of milk sold. Some of that goes to local marketing programs. A smaller portion goes to national programs such as Dairy Management. Now that the clouds have cleared from Hurricane Dorian, it's time to get back out into the fields, as meteorologist Cindy Clausen shows us in today's crop comments.
Well, Clinton, last year was rough for many peanut farmers after the hurricane season, but this year, so far so good. Check out this peanut crop in Coffee County, Georgia. That's in the southern part of the state. Trevor Smith sharing this video with us saying, nothing like the smell of fresh plowed up peanuts. Best way to eat them is raw, too, right behind the plow. It's too bad we don't have smell-o-vision right now, and I, of course, bet those are tasty fresh like that, too. Well, let's take a look at our wind speed forecast for the day. And the area to watch is going to be once again in the nation's midsection and heading towards the Four Corners region, where we'll have some of those elevated winds in there, especially in the Central Plains and over into parts of the Rockies. Overnight, we'll see those winds picking up a little bit as you get into the upper Midwest, as well as a low pressure system is moving through there. And then as we get through Thursday, it'll be especially central northern plains and into the Great Lakes that we'll have to watch for some higher winds. I'll have your national forecast coming up.
Suicide becoming more common in America, and the increase is more pronounced in rural areas. That's according to a new study published in the journal JAMA Network Open. It attributes the rise to several factors, including a lack of insurance and the prevalence of gun shops. Now, researchers at The Ohio State University evaluated national suicide data from 1999 to 2016. They found suicide rates jumped 41% from a median of 15 per 100,000 county residents in the first part of the study to 21.2 per 100,000 in the last 3 years of the analysis. Suicide rates were highest in less populated counties and in areas where people have lower incomes and fewer resources. Now, one researcher said social isolation in rural areas can also be an issue.
We know that living in a rural area, you tend to be more isolated geographically, and you're not close to neighbors, and so you don't see a lot of people. You don't have a lot of one-on-one contact, which increases the rates of depression.
Suicides were most common among men and those 45 to 54 years old. This is National Suicide Prevention Week, and if you or someone you love needs help, we hope you'll reach out to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 1-800-273-TALK. All right, coming up, we examine what's been a bumpy road lately when it comes to cotton, plus their extension agents, and so much more. Two ladies who are serving up a whole lot of help, along with some laughs, coming up in the country.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Commodities soaring on Tuesday after some possible good news about the China trade talks and after USDA announced large flash sales of corn and soybeans to Mexico. Here's an update from the CME.
I know I'm wearing a cow shirt, but let's talk about lean hogs. I think that was kind of interesting today. Let's talk about Deese lean hogs. That's going to be the one I'm looking at. And we've been kind of trapped in this $10 box, right? So from 58 to 68. And we've tested 58 twice, and we were looking to test it one more time. We started to make a move lower, and then we had the all change. We kind of rallied here on Tuesday. Seeing corn rally the way it has helped, would normally be a pressure to lean hogs, but it's not. So that tells me, in the face of something that would normally make your product trade lower, if it trades higher, that tells me that, hey, there's something here, there's a story to be told. It's probably stronger than I thought. Well, having talked about the meats, let's talk about the grains. They're a big input for those meat prices. And I think one of them, the interesting one would have been, say, corn. 4 days in a row we had a new low, but after a $1.20 sell-off from the highs to the lows and a USDA report around the corner, what do you think most traders did that were short and have benefited from that move? Well, a good instance, you can see by the pricing on the boards today, we're green across the board. We had some buyers come back into the market. I would say largely a lot of short covers just to kind of get square before the report. But as we've got a finer tooth, or at least a finer point on our pencil here, I don't expect anything too crazy on Thursday.
Cotton prices have dropped significantly since last year. Farm Journal's Stein Morgan talks with Steve Verrett of Plains Cotton Growers about the issues.
Here now is Steve Verrett of Plains Cotton Growers. Steve, when you look at the challenges that farmers have faced here, I mean, the year started out so promising and then kind of Mother Nature ripped that right out of under producers' feet.
Yeah, it was a very promising year. We had a very wet winter. We went in with a full profile of moisture. The spring was a little rough. Planting was a little rough. Some areas had real trouble, but we got past that. The rain kept coming until the end of June, the 1st of July. And people fertilized. They really had a lot of promise, and then it just quit raining. And the crop went from great potential to only average, or maybe even a little less than average, especially on our dry land. The irrigated crop, for the most part, still looks pretty good, but it's been a very expensive crop because the wells have been running nonstop.
Well, and it's not just weather worries, but price pain. I mean, you look at cotton, last year prices were fairly decent, but that incentivized a lot more producers to plant cotton, which then impacted price.
That's right. You know, we just thought that the markets were affected last year by the tariffs and the retaliatory tariffs until this year come along. And so, you know, where we were in about the 70-cent range, now we're trading at less than 60 cents. So it's created some real problems for producers, both in hoping to pay out this year and much less in trying to plan for another year.
So what's the hope? When you look at Plains cotton growers, what would hope kind of turn things around, turn morale around for cotton producers?
Well, like most crops, we need those export markets, but you know, we're also cautioning people that we're concerned about some of the slowdown in the economy, and whether those markets will come back as strong or not will remain to be seen. But we just have to stay faithful and hopeful, and hope something will come over the horizon to help kind of turn some of this around.
Steve, thank you so much
You
for
bet.
joining us. We appreciate it. Hopefully a smooth harvest this year, and
That's
hopefully
right.
not getting rain at the wrong time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thanks, Steve. We
You bet.
appreciate it. All right, we need to take a quick break, and then we'll have a check of weather right here on AgDay.
The IBM Watson Decision Platform for Agriculture, helping to feed a hungry world with the power of AI.
There's still a couple of weeks left of summer, but if you love the snow, you might want to head to northern Utah. As you can see, the area around the Uintah-Wasatch Cache National Forest just got a dusting of snow on Tuesday. Now, maybe not great for driving, but pretty to look at and awful hard to say.
I was going to say that's a mouthful.
Yeah, snow already.
I know, and you can see it on the map here. Just a little blip there. It's really not much to, you know, to show, but there is. Yeah, we're already starting to think about that in some of those higher elevations out west. While we're dealing with more summer out in the eastern part of the country. Let's look at our map today. The big focus is going to be along this frontal system that's draping across the Great Lakes states and out into the central and even into the northern plains. You can see that low pressure system over towards the eastern parts of the Rockies, trailing cold front down into the Four Corners region. So it's mainly going to be in the eastern 2/3 of this that we see that moisture for today, the bulk of it. And you can see we're going to see waves moving along this frontal system, moving through the Great Lakes today, and we'll see more activity in the plains as well. Now moving into tonight, we'll see really the front not making much north and southward movement just yet. So we're going to continue to see some of these same areas being hit by showers and even some thunderstorms as well. Big difference in those temperatures north to south as well, as we're feeling that real summer heat and humidity here in what we call the warm sector, but it's much cooler on the north side of that front and in the northwest as well. Heading through our Thursday, we're going to be seeing showers and some thunderstorms along that low pressure system, and we really start to pick up more moisture, and we'll start to see more of that coming along our cold front, moving through the plain states and starting to get into the Mississippi Valley. As far as the rainfall, we are looking at some heavier amounts again right along that front where everything's going to be concentrated. Many areas 3-4 inches, and as we add the next 24 hours, we're going to be adding even more to that. So especially southern Minnesota, kind of the western part of Wisconsin into the Dakotas, we're looking at some fairly heavy rain. You can see that rain picking up along that trailing cold front as we get into the next 24 hours. All right, temperature-wise, as I mentioned, big difference there. You got 63 in Sault Ste. Marie, but 86 in Chicago. So huge differences in temperature along and north of that front between south and the front. A lot of 90s down in the south central United States and into the southeast. And again, it's a very humid day as well. Cooler in the northwest, and that's going to continue as we head into tonight as well, with those lows getting down into the 50s and 60s, while we see a lot of 70s in that warm sector. Let's take a quick look at that jet stream. And yeah, we have that big ridge in the eastern part of the country, a trough in the west. That's why we see those cooler temperatures there. Things kind of become a little more zonal by the weekend after this trough starts to move through, but watch what happens as we get into the early part of next week as another big trough enters the western part of the country and another big ridge builds in over the nation's midsection. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Irishman's Kentucky, very warm today with showers and thunderstorms possible and a high of 92 degrees. Brutus, Michigan, cloudy with a light breeze, high of 70. And Sparta, Wisconsin, showers and thunderstorms likely.
Now's your chance to try out your artistic skills on a familiar label. We'll tell you how. Plus, we see how the almond harvest is shaking out right now in California. Next.
Introducing Farm Journal TV, on demand 24/7. AgDay, Machinery Pete TV. U.S. Farm Report on your phone and tablet. Download the Farm Journal TV mobile app today.
California almond harvest is now underway. This year, the crop in the state is estimated by the USDA to be 2.3 billion pounds. That's about 3.5% less than last year's total. Here's an update from one grower provided to us from the California Farm Bureau Federation.
Right now, it's a very important time. We're in a good spot because we have this dual line drip. It's kind of nice that we can irrigate these trees while we're in the windrow. A lot of guys have micros, sprinklers, which would get the nuts wet, so we're lucky enough to get these trees some water because they're really dying for some water in this hot weather. We're harvesting almonds here, Independence. We just got started here. We got them in a windrow here today. Gonna start picking up tomorrow. Crop looks pretty good. Winter was a little tough on us, so we'll see what happens come when they get in the trailers and when they take off, but we're pretty happy with the way things look right now.
Love those stickers on Chiquita bananas? Now you can come up with one of your own. Chiquita is starting a campaign called Fuel the Fun. It's a back-to-school promotion that encourages everyone to design their own take on Chiquita's familiar blue sticker. You have until the end of the month to submit your idea. Now, Chiquita will then choose up to 18 entries to be featured on banana stickers next year. The top 3 entries will get an iPad and an Apple Pen. For more details on how to enter, head over to our website at agday.com. Still ahead, bringing important information to people in rural areas. And a little humor, how these two ladies in Tennessee are blending both into success. Coming up in the country.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
Podcasting is gaining in popularity. We have several online with Farm Journal. Now, the University of Tennessee Extension agents are producing one of their own, and as Charles Denny reports, it mixes help with a little humor. Charles Denny listens in and then tells us about what they have to say.
So in this edition of Bringing It Home with Sarah and Tennille, we're ready to cozy up for fall.
I'm so excited. Fall is my favorite time of year.
Are you one of these pumpkin spice people?
A couple of girlfriends having a chat with the mic from an iPad capturing it all. Bringing It Home is a podcast starring a couple of vivacious ladies. UT Extension Family and Consumer Sciences agents Tennille Short of Haywood County and Sarah Poole from Crockett County give advice about a range of issues: relationships, food prep and safety, home ownership. Each podcast includes information and humor, topped by a side order of sass.
Well, all the topics that we discuss on our podcast have to do with home and family. And so all of the things that we teach in our jobs as extension agents, we wanted a way to help people to bring that information home and apply it to their lives.
It's definitely just us having a conversation. There's no camera in the room. It's just she and I talking with an iPad, having a good time, but trying to educate the population on a certain topic each week when we do it and have fun doing it.
The FCS agents were looking for a new way of connecting with people, and social media and podcasting seemed a great method of communication. And the audience is listening.
We've had people tell us they listen driving to work, like, exercising. It's just a great way. There's a lot of time. People do have time during the day to listen to things, and they don't have to be fully engaged to like watching a screen. They can just listen while they're doing whatever they're doing.
The goal of Bringing It Home?
World domination. No.
Well, that might be a bit extreme, but this effort has been successful. Tennille and Sarah have produced a podcast every week this year, and through social media and downloads, they've reached more than 40,000 listeners.
So we're the Kitchen Divas 2.0 now.
The agents are part of UT Extension's famed Kitchen Divas, here doing a cooking demonstration to a receptive crowd. The podcasters believe their message has been effective because so much of what they talk about is based on their own experiences.
We go through a lot of things that everybody else goes through. And so we try to be very transparent, which makes it a little humorous sometimes, but just really be relatable.
UT Extension agents often teach in classroom settings, but podcasting is yet another way of delivering information and impacting others. Daniil and Sarah have plenty of ideas for future segments. When they talk, or podcast, if that can also be a verb, their words, their message brings it home.
And love the life you live.
Cheers.
This is Charles Denny reporting.
And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you spent part of this Patriots Day with us, a day we will never forget. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. We'll see you again tomorrow.